Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Christy.
Hey friends, it's Christy, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. We are entering the third week of February at the time of this recording, and I am ecstatic at the fact that 5 years ago, on February 22nd, I had posted my very first episode. So thank you so much for listening in, being part of this journey. And I'm really grateful for all of the people who have reached out over the last 5 years to let me know that their financial life has been impacted positively because of some of the things that they've learned through this podcast. So thank you for letting me know. And I want to say thank you, Jesus, because this was like a little God wink 5 years ago. I really felt it on my heart to share the knowledge and information that I know about credit that can have a really positive impact in other people's lives. And every time I feel like, all right, I'm done, I think I'm just going to stop doing this, I get a little God wink where somebody will send me a message or an email and say, thank you. Because of what you've taught me, I've been able to improve my credit to, fill in the blank, qualify for a really great interest rate on a car. I just bought my first home. I finally got out of debt. Just so many amazing stories and celebrations. And so I'm glad to be able to put this out there as part of my business and ministry. All right, let's talk about the 6 components to financial independence. Repeat that term with me, financial independence. Financial independence. What does that mean? What does it mean to you? See, we all have our own definition to certain words, and we usually put meaning to words based on our environment, our relationship with an experience, or even, is it something that I can have, or is it just something that other people can experience? Well, let's break it down, this financial independence. So I'm going to go to my very trusted assistant, known as ChatGPT. And Chat tells me this: financial independence means having enough income, savings, or investments to cover your living expenses without relying on a traditional job or paycheck. It allows you to have the freedom to make life choices without being primarily driven by financial concerns. Golly, doesn't that feel good? To be able to make those choices, the freedom to make those life choices without our income or our money dictating those decisions. So let's run through the 6 key elements of financial independence. It starts with cash flow. And then second, having an emergency fund. Next is your debt management, and then protecting assets. 5th is building wealth, and 6th is preserving wealth. So let's break that down. Let's start with cash flow. We've got to have enough income coming in that we're not only just covering our debts, but we have some extra money in which we can put into investments. We can buy real estate. You can buy stocks that create dividends. You can start or buy a business that generates income. So we want to generate enough money to cover your lifestyle costs, your costs of living, but also income for investing. If your current income is not doing that for you right now, you have one of 2 choices, or a combination of the 2. You can find a job or create work that pays you more money, or you can reduce your spending or lower your cost of living, or a combination of the 2. So how do you earn more money? You become more valuable in the workplace. If you love your industry and you love your position, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you show your uniqueness to the world? It might be some additional education. It might be a different approach to how you treat your clients or how you do your job. I know so many people show up to work and they're quite miserable. They don't love their job. And it shows. You're not going to get raises and you're not going to get promotions if you show up that way. One of the most valuable life lessons my very first boss taught me at Morrison's cafeteria was to learn as many different roles as possible. So I'm the most needed employee out of everyone. When somebody doesn't show up, I can fill in for that day. When somebody needs to go take a break, I can fill their role. And knowing more makes me more valuable to the company. So do you need additional education? Do you need more experience? Do you need certifications? If you have your own business, how can you increase your profits by 10%? How can you increase your clientele by 10%? How do you reduce your overhead by 10%? If you did those 3 things right there, you'll have an influx of 30% of your income. If you make $300,000 a year, you are now earning $390,000 a year. Make yourself invaluable in your industry, to your partners, to your clients, and you can experience greater cash flow. Next is to have an emergency fund. If you do not have an emergency fund, you may find yourself putting emergencies or even necessities on a credit card and now paying more because you're servicing that debt. You're carrying that balance month after month at a very high interest rate. Just last week, the CPI report, Consumer Price Index, which is one of the measurements of inflation, it came in 0.5% higher than where it was the month earlier. And so what this means is the Fed funds rate is likely going to stay where it's at for longer. You may have heard in the media that we were anticipating somewhere between 2 and 4 interest rate cuts this year. And now it's looking like our first cut may not even be until September. So if we do have a cut and it winds up being September, that tells me we might only have 2 cuts this year and it will be at the end of this year. Why is that important? Because the prime index rate runs tandem to the Fed funds rate. And if that stays higher for longer, that means APRs on credit cards, personal loans, and auto loans are going to stay higher longer. Ultimately, it costs us more money when we borrow. And third, in our equation for financial independence is around debt management. So the goal is to be debt-free or to carry low debt, minimal debt. And that is ensuring that your income isn't drained by loan payments. So how do we get to low debt or living debt-free? First, you've got to budget. Budget and save and spend wisely. So many people do not follow a written budget, and friends, it is a game changer. If you were the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer for a big Fortune 500 company, would there be an expectation that that business would follow a budget? Of course it would. It needs to know what amount of their profits and income that they're generating is going to payroll and to overhead and to research and development and to marketing and all of those places. There is a budget for every element and department of that company. So if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for you. Follow a written budget. And in your budget, once you get to the point where you have eliminated your debt, I want you to start saving aggressively. This means at least 20% of your take-home pay is getting set aside for your future use. And this is so you can buy real estate and stocks, buy or build that business, creating passive income so you can experience financial independence. You need to eliminate that high interest debt. So paying down those credit cards and any other expensive liabilities that you have. How do we get there? Well, I did it the good old-fashioned way, and I worked 3 jobs until I paid it off. Maybe you have a room you can rent out. Maybe you could sell some things that you're not using anymore. Maybe you could work some overtime or a side hustle. What do you know or possess or have, skill set or otherwise, that can earn you money? I tell you what, if I were single and in my 20s again, I would probably rent a room from somebody instead of having my own place. And I would have marketed that I am a dog sitter and that I'll come stay at your home and get paid $40 a night. People take vacations and they need to go away and see their family. Sometimes people travel for work or just simple pleasures, and they'll pay big bucks for somebody that they can trust to sit at their home and play with their pets. That'd be a nice side hustle in addition to a regular full-time job. So what might you be able to do to create multiple income streams? Maybe you can make some money off of your hobby. Maybe you could turn your creative side into a side business. And then we need to protect our assets. How do we do that? Insurance is a really important part of this element. It's important to have life insurance, and it's important to have proper health insurance, auto insurance, and even insurance on your rental home or the home that you own, especially if you are a couple or if you are a parent. think life insurance is one of the most beautiful gifts that you can get for your family, and you might be very surprised at how inexpensive life insurance can be. If you want a recommendation on a great company to work with, you can send me an email at questions@creditchristie.com. So protect your assets, your home, your health, your car, and your life with the proper insurances. Step 5 is building wealth. So this starts with planning for the long term. When do you want to retire? Where do you want to live? Is the home you're in going to be the one you're going to retire in? Do you have an exit plan if you have a business? What is your strategy? Are you going to sell that business or are you just going to shut it down? Start thinking about creating a business in such a manner that you have an asset at the end to sell that will generate you some income. And at this point, you really want to have control over your time, right? You want to be able to choose your work based on your passion and your purpose and what you truly enjoy rather than necessity. So make that as part of your long-term vision as you are building wealth. If you have an employer-sponsored 401k, especially if they match any percentage, I had to put in 6% in order to get matched 2%, but still it was free money from my company. So absolutely max out your 401k, max out your IRA, because you may not know this, but the government puts a cap on how much you can contribute each year. So if your plan is, I'm just going to worry about it in 20 years and then I'll throw all of my income into it because I won't have any debt then. I'll have my mortgage paid off, my car will be free and clear, I'll have money in the bank, so I'll just start throwing money at it. Well, you may not know this, but there is a cap on how much you can contribute to your 401k and IRA every single year. And that is set forth by the government. So could you put money into other investments? Yes, but not into qualified retirement accounts. So just keep that in mind. And obviously invest wisely. I know so many people are chasing after that really high percentage on their return on investment, but the greater the reward, often the greater the risk. So your goal is for your investments to outpace inflation and to earn you some money safely. Real estate is relatively safe to invest in, but certain kinds of real estate. I'm a mortgage loan officer, and personally, I don't love condos as an investment. The HOA, condo association dues can go up without your say in the matter. There's a lot of restrictions on who and when and what you can rent your condo out to if you wanted to make it an investment property. So there are certain types of real estate that you may want to avoid if you're going to be utilizing it as an investment property. If you're going to buy stocks, think about the S&P 500 or something along those lines where it's well-established, high-performing companies. Maybe look at stocks that pay dividends. If you're a little bit younger in age, you can tolerate a little bit more risk. So when you are choosing your stocks, your mutual funds, whatever your retirement and investment accounts are putting their money towards, you may feel a little bit more comfortable going a little higher on the risk because you're in it for a longer amount of time. But the older you get, the more of a safer mix you're really going to want to focus on to help grow your money. And that compound effect often doesn't happen in the first few years. So the earlier you start, the more years your money has to build and grow and compound over time. One of the most important things you can do if you have a mortgage is to pay that mortgage instead of once a month in a bi-weekly fashion. So what does this mean? This means you're taking your mortgage payment and you're setting this up through your loan servicer. So who you pay every single month, you have to set this up through them. And basically what they'll do is they'll take your monthly housing cost, your mortgage payment, and divide it by 2. So for instance, if your mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, then you may set up an auto draft for every other Friday. $1,500 is getting auto drafted to pay towards your mortgage. So why is this significant? If you've ever gotten paid bi-weekly, you've received a paycheck every other week, you know that there are 2 months in the year that you actually get a third paycheck just by the way that the weeks fall. So let's break this down. You have a 52-week year, cut that in half because you're going to be making half of your payments every other week. So in a 52-week year, you're going to make 26 half payments. Divide that in half again. You'll have 13. 13 what? 13 full mortgage payments made every year. This can turn a 30-year mortgage into a 23-year payoff. It is powerful. And if you look at how much of your monthly payment is principal and interest, multiply that by 84, because if you cut off 7 years of payments, that's 84 months worth of principal and interest payments you have now eliminated. Friends, it could be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And in some cases, I've done the math, and it's over $100,000 in interest saved. It's so powerful. And the sooner you pay off your housing payment, the more of your take-home pay can go towards other investments, maxing out your retirement accounts, and putting funding towards your bigger lifelong goals. And then finally, our final step is preserving our wealth. We want to minimize what we pay in taxes to the government. We want to protect our assets. We want those to grow over time. We want to make sure that they are listed properly for our estate upon our passing. I know it could feel a little yucky to think about when you die, but listen, none of us are getting out of here alive. And the most amazing gift you can give your family is to create the proper estate planning. So at this point, you would really want to have a conversation with an estate planning attorney to make sure that everything that you've worked towards, everything that you're building and creating can be properly preserved and passed on to your beneficiaries with the least amount of financial impact to them, preserving everything that you've worked towards creating, but also where you're in a position to be able to enjoy it in your older and wiser days. It's also having a strategy for your retirement, for your health care, which, let's face it, your expenses are going to be higher when you're older, and any of those unexpected life events. Nobody signs up for the terminal illness, the disability, the chronic pain, the being forced into early retirement, none of that, right? So if you start now, if you start today with a plan, you're going to create choices and financial security that generate enough money where you can truly enjoy your lifestyle. You're planning and paying for your future, and you're controlling your time so that you can choose work based on your passions and your purpose. Take a deep breath with me. Doesn't that sound amazing? Well, you can have it. It's just with proper planning. And sometimes it's a matter of saying no to the immediate gratification in order to really create a life that you will cherish down the road, because you put that money instead towards funding your retirement account, paying off debt, and planning for that big life goal like owning your house free and clear, or finally starting that business debt-free. I would love to hear from you. What is your dream and what are your goals? By what age do you want to retire? And what does your retirement look like? I'm going to tell you, if you haven't really truly stopped to think about it, I want to encourage you to make time in your life to do that now. Write it out. Fast forward to when you believe you will be retiring. What age is that for you? And start looking at a day in your life. What time did you wake up? What did you do first upon waking up? How did you enjoy your time to start your day? Where did you go with your time? What brings you purpose? How are you giving to this world and to others through your time, treasure, and your talents? What does it look like for your time spent every day if you're not drudging to a job that you can't stand? Look around you. What does your retirement home look like? What does the view look like? Who are you with? What kind of toys do you have in your garage or in the backyard? Do you have a boat, a jet ski, an RV? Where are you going and who are you going with? What are you leaving for your family? And what are you enjoying today? Start asking those questions and get very, very clear. Be very specific. Write it out. See it, smell it, taste it, feel it. Be in that kitchen. Be in that home. Be in that business. And when you can see your life unfolding that way at the start of your retirement, now with that clear vision, you can work backwards and start creating that plan to make it your reality. You know, financial independence doesn't necessarily mean early retirement, but it is about having choices and security. That's something that earlier in my life, I didn't believe was possible. I didn't believe it would be for me. It could be for others, but not for me. And if that's how you might be feeling right now, because you're buried in credit card debt, because you have a higher than desired mortgage payment, Because even though you make this huge car payment, you're not making a dent in the balance. I'm telling you, it can happen for you. You just have to create a plan and follow it. I know you can do this. I believe in you. And so I want you to believe in you. So I hope you have found this encouraging. I do have a book you can find on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. It's called Finish Financially Free. And I think it would be a great help for you if this episode really resonates with you. If you need some encouragement, if you'd like some direction, or if you just want to share your dreams and your goals, send me an email at questions@creditchristie.com. And until next time, my friends, stay well.
Subscribe now and share with a friend to stay in the loop for new credit content and insider tips to maximize your credit knowledge. And follow Credit Christie on Instagram.